Hello and welcome to my channel. For those of you who haven't been here before, my name is Colette and my channel is Inspiring Life Changes. For those of you who've been here before and know what it's all about, welcome back. Thanks for coming across to check out my latest video. This is the second part of my two-part series. So this is the astrology part, the intuitive astrology part. Again, for those of you who haven't been here before and haven't seen my videos, I write down the astrology as I feel what's happening, and then I put it onto my laptop and I read it out through during the video. So that's how I do it. I will be pulling some cards previous to that as well, but this video that I'm doing today is for the full moon that's just taken place earlier this morning, 11 AM or 10:59 AM in the UK. Again, it's going to be different elsewhere. On the 10th of September in the sign of Pisces. So the cards behind me are showing the energies that we're dealing with. So we've got the moon, which is the people and the soul, the emotions, and then we've got the energy of Pisces itself. On this card it actually says I believe, but personally for me Pisces is much more about knowing than believing. I personally think believing is more of a Sagittarius system. Our belief systems as a Sagittarius ruled thing. And then we have after that the sun, which of course is the reason that we have the full moon, and that's in Virgo. Then we have the 12th house, which is where the moon is placed and is taking place at this time in the 12th house of Pisces. 12th house being the house of mystery, again the unknown, the unseen. It's also in this particular deck called Escape, because there is a element of Piscean energy being very escapism energy, which is often why artists and creative people are connected to this particular energy. And lastly we have the water symbol, because Pisces is a sign ruled by water. One of the reasons it's so highly intuitive. So let's start the reading with these cards here. The full moon, surrender to the divine energy. Full moon's all about culmination of something, ending of something, finishing something off so that something new can begin at the time of the new moon. So it's a time of bringing something to a closure, bringing something to an end. And again, it will relate to the house that it falls in for yourselves as well. So that's an interesting aspect. If you don't understand that, there is a link for your own personal birth chart to be discovered in the description box down below. If you put your details into the link that it takes you to, the page it takes you to, you put your details in and you can find out your own private personal birth chart, and then you can kind of discover not only where the planets are in your chart but in relation to what's happening in the sky as well, which is how it all works and what it's all about. So we have the Piscean moon, and it's talking about a balance between spirituality and practicality, practicality being the Virgo side of it, where, as I was saying, the sun is at this time, and the spirituality being the Piscean side of things. But we have the energy again of mutability and mutable moons, so everything is still up in the air, in flux, in change. We can change our minds. We don't have to stick with something like we would with the fixed energies. This is much more being flexible, being able to change, like I was saying, like think that you're going to go down one path and then kind of change your mind at the last moment and just do something else, because nothing is yet set in stone, as it says here, which is much more fixed energy, which of course we've just come out of. So I'm going to start the reading with a spirit animal oracle. And for those of you who may have watched my previous video, the tarot side of the reading, which I put out earlier, I was going to use the spirit animal oracle cards, but then I ended up just reading about one of the tarot cards, which seemed to me to be very important and relevant at that time. So I ended up reading the energy of the seahorse. So I thought instead, because I didn't use it then, I would use it now instead. So we have the mouse spirit. The mouse spirit is in reverse, and it's saying tend to all the small things. So that's very Virgoan. Virgos like the details of things, but it is in reverse. So we'll see what that says. Number 40. I will just put it up behind here. I won't put it in reverse, but I will read the reverse side of it. Mouse spirit, where are you? Tend to all the small things. So in reverse, it's known as the protection message, and this is saying, I'm going to take my glasses off because I can't read it properly with them on. So it's saying, are you too caught up in details, micromanaging others and stressing out because you want everything to be perfect? That is so Virgo, and we've just recently had the Virgo new moon, of course, so we've been very much in that energy. And I also stress as well that Mercury, who is one of the rulers of Virgo, has just gone retrograde. So again, it could be kind of making all of that energy very much magnified at this time. Are you procrastinating because you want every detail to be just right and losing track of time and your priorities? Mouse spirit wants you to listen to your intuition that tells you that the detail you fear you are overlooking will only appear when you stop obsessing. And that can very much be a Virgo trait as well, obsessing over the tiny, smaller details of things and missing the bigger picture. But the intuition, listen to your intuition, that is very much a Piscean energy as well, so it's interesting. Mouse spirit will lead you to the nuances you need to notice and will diligently work to support you if you take a breath and trust that guidance will be provided. Small gestures carry great power right now. And maybe you need to take action toward discovering what is going on that you may not be seeing, or toward mending a relationship or a situation. Ask a question, do a little research, and listen for mouse spirit's quiet little squeak telling you, look here and attend to this detail. That is quite Virgo energy. So I'm calling this reading, just find the, there we go. I'm calling this reading Full Moon in Pisces, Weaving Spells of Magic Words. So this full moon is occurring on the 10th of September in the mutable water sign of the deeply feeling, intuitive, artistic, creative, spiritual and ultra sensitive realm of the dreamer Pisces. Pisces is ruled over by the nebulous, mysterious and very distant planet Neptune, who is known as the ruler of the deep vast oceans. Here in the UK, this full moon is taking place at 10:59, and it will be different in other parts of the world, so if you're interested, check out the timing for your own personal location. Wherever we are located on the planet, it will be happening at 17 degrees and 41 minutes of the fishes, which is being lit up by the sun from the opposing 180 degree angle sign of Virgo. If you have any planets or points between the 12 to 22 degrees of either of these mutable signs, or the 19 degree square of either Gemini or Sagittarius, you will be feeling this full moon on a deeply emotional and sensitive level. So check out where these degrees of 12 to 22 degrees fall, especially the 17 to 18 degrees for you, where it is in your own personal chart with regard to the house placement, as this is the area of your life it will be felt in most on a personal scale. So you may want to check out, if you don't already have your own personal chart, check out the link that's in the description box below, and you can then go and find out what it means by the house placements, etc. Also, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, you can put them in the comments below, and I'll see if what I can do about answering any of those questions. So for the collective, this full moon is being shown to us through the 12th house of the subconscious, also the unconscious, the unseen, the unknown. The 12th house is also called the realm of sorrow and the place of our invisible enemy, which can often be ourselves, as we tend to be unaware of our biggest flaws, so therefore unable to work with and through them. This is the house that holds our greatest weakness, the place we sabotage ourselves from, as well as our greatest potential for success. It is the house of both the victim that feels the need to be saved and the saviour that is locked away deep inside, that we can only ever ultimately save ourselves by finding. It is the wolf in sheep's clothing and the sheep he feeds on daily, while the rest of the sheep remain oblivious. However, it is also the most spiritual, compassionate house, full of unconditional love, which is the reason it is related to the Christ consciousness. The word Christ meaning anointed or chosen one, and it's interesting because in the reading that I did earlier today, one of the cards that came out at the end was actually the Jesus card for forgiveness. So there is a very Jesus energy, Christ consciousness energy connected with this Piscean energy itself. It is the chosen one is a title, it's not a name, because most people seem to think of the word Christ as being the name, but it isn't. It's actually a title meaning anointed or chosen one. And as such, it implies we all have the same ability within us to reach those higher states of conscious knowing. There is a lot hidden within the 12th house, which can become our greatest joy or our biggest frustration. This full moon in Pisces is conjunct the ruler of the 12th house, Neptune, at 24 degrees 12 minutes retrograde, which is highlighting all the traits of the planets of delusion, denial, confusion, deception, fakery, distortion, nebulousness, disguises, distractions, drink, drugs, and dependency. Both the moon, which also relates to illusion, mystery, the subconscious, feeling realm of our emotions, and Neptune are under the full glare of the sun from the 6th house of Virgo, which covers things like our service and giving of our time and energy to others, self-improvement, and scrutinizing or analysing our lives or other people's down to the minutest details, which is kind of what this card here was talking about. Virgo is the sign that enjoys spreadsheets, statistics, and practical, methodical ways of approaching life. The 6th and 12th house axis is known as the health axis, as Neptune also governs illness, particularly that which is virulent, meaning something that causes the sudden onset of illness as it spreads rapidly in the body's system and has no boundaries. Another Neptunian trait, very Neptune thing, is that it's boundaryless. It has no boundaries. There's no boundaries. If you think of the ocean, it's just vast, and if you think of like space, which is kind of Neptune's domain in many ways, its vastness has no boundaries. And I find it interesting that the word virulent origins, the origins of the word virulent or virulence are found in the word virus, that in itself means snake venom. Maybe this full moon will shed more light on this ongoing health issue, as this full moon is going to see a lot of attention and focus on the details of what has been taking place and continues to take place around the distortion and deceptions when it comes to our health, our body, our spirit, and the lies fed to our mind that affect our decisions on all of the aforementioned. Neptune is going to be going back across the same area of the sky in our personal natal chart he was in during 2021. So when he stationed retrograde at 23 degrees 11 minutes in late June, that's the area that he's going to be going back over now, which means he will be, as from the 19th of October this year, covering the same ground he was at back in August 2021 when he reached 22 degrees 38 minutes, which is the same degree he was stationed direct at in early December this year. And when he does so, and then starts to move forward once more, he will have gone over that 22 to 23 degrees of Pisces for the 5th time. So when Pisces retrogrades back, he retrogrades back across a certain part of the sign that he's in more than once. Well, in fact, more than 3 times. So basically he's going over it and then revisiting it. So it's like revisiting what is already visited and revisited before that. So there is a certain like degree, there's always 1 degree of the sign that he's in every time he retrogrades that he will revisit, if that makes sense. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say here. And I kind of feel that is like a critical point somehow. I don't know how and I don't know why yet, because I'm only just kind of getting into this realization that this is what Neptune does. Pluto does it as well. But I haven't looked into Pluto's in the same way as I've looked into Neptune's at this time. But Neptune is going over this 22 to 23 degrees of Pisces for the 5th time, like I said. But okay, so from mid-October up till March 2023, when he eventually leaves his shadow of 25 degrees and 26 minutes, which is where he's stopped and returned from, this period of time is going to be filled with major revealings and revelations. So the 25 degrees 26 minutes is actually where he came into his own shadow. Especially concerning the health pandemic. So I feel as though there's going to be a lot of major revealings and revelations around that period of time from mid-October, from when he kind of meets that 22 to 23 degree point of Pisces. It's going to kind of stir things back up again on quite a deep level, because that's where he was back in 2021. In June of 2021. And so I think it's going to shock a lot of people as well. It's going to shock a lot of people. But there's another really interesting thing about this 22 degrees, which is the fact that in the US natal chart, Neptune is at 22 degrees of Virgo. So at the moment, the Sun is conjunct that that point during this full moon. The Sun is conjunct, and Neptune is having a the US is having a Neptune opposition, which I have spoken about a wee bit before, but it's not getting anywhere near as much attention as the kind of Pluto return, which is understandable because that is a major event as well. But I find that this is quite interesting because of everything that kind of kicked off in the States during that time, everything that kind of like it all kind of blew up over there much more than it kind of blew up over here. It was like originated over there in the States in many ways before it kind of spread out to the rest of the world, even though it started in China. But it was once it reached the United States that it really kind of drew the attention of the world and could no longer be ignored. And so Neptune was already kind of coming up to the opposition with Neptune in Pisces at that time. That was already beginning to happen. And so I feel as though this full moon is kind of lighting the fuse wire, which is going to slowly creep up to a massive explosion of revelations as we enter the eclipse season as well, which we're going to do. And we're going to start feeling the effects of that. If we're not already feeling them now, we're definitely going to start feeling the effects of them from about the full moon in Aries on the 9th of October. And so another important point about this 22 degrees of Pisces is that Neptune is going to station, he's actually going to station opposite that 22 degrees of the US natal chart as well. So a lot of things that are being like at this time, how can you put it, like everything is like back to front, everything is kind of a bit like kind of Alice in Wonderland world where things aren't as they appear. It's very much everything is kind of turned topsy-turvy and not as it should be, and a part of this is to do with this Neptune opposition, Virgo Pisces opposition that is happening at this time. And it's going to be exact at 22 degrees and 22 minutes of the natal chart. And it first began, the Neptune opposition actually first began back in 2018. So it was kind of building up, shall we say, and it became exact for the first time on the last day of February 2022. So not that long back that it actually became fully exact. At the same time, Pluto is also remaining trine with this natal point in Virgo, conjunct the natal Pluto return of 27 degrees 33 minutes as well. So Pluto is playing his part, which we're also seeing playing out with like transformational energy, big times, things shifting, changing, governments all over the world, not just in America, but America is kind of highlighting all of this energy, if you like, because of the Pluto return. It's really playing out like on the world stage in the US for everybody to see. So Pluto and Neptune in mundane astrology are also remaining sextile as well. So there's a lot of Pluto Neptune energy which is kind of very much highlighted at this time. Pluto being transformation and death and rebirth and destructive creative energy. It's also, Pluto is also very much about the idea of nothing lasting. Nothing stays the same forever. It's always changing. And Neptune is that kind of mysterious kind of nebulous is the word that I like to use most for Neptune, because I think it really kind of sums up that mystery, that nebulousness, you can't put your finger on it kind of energy. It kind of like you think you've got it and then something happens and it kind of shifts somehow. Forever kind of changing, and with this Pluto energy it's forever changing, evolving. So there, Pluto and Neptune in like mundane astrology, actually in the sky now, are also sextile with each other as well, which is why we're seeing so much deception, as well as unveilings of the deception, fraud and fakery, along with the desire for revenge and open enmity within the country, particularly in the US at this time, which are leading to the biggest evolutionary changes the US has seen in 247 years. So that's what that's all about, are the changes that are occurring, but there's a lot of upheaval happening through that as well. So Mercury at 8 degrees 54 minutes of Libra has now stationed retrograde, and he's conjunct Makemake at 7 degrees 50, while also opposing Jupiter at 5 degrees 49 minutes, who's also still conjunct Salacia at 7 degrees 57 of Aries. So both Makemake and Salacia are Kuiper Belt objects. They are way out beyond the distant Neptune, which gives them a much higher vibrational frequency than Jupiter or Mercury, both of which are much closer to the Earth. So interestingly though, they are both conjunct and both opposing one of these higher frequency energetic objects. So Mercury has been opposing both Jupiter and Salacia since just before the new moon in Virgo, 2 weeks back. Now at the time of the full moon in Pisces, he is stationed about 24 hours previously, which is, as with all station planets, now magnifying all the Mercurian traits. However, with the Jupiter connection, these traits are going to be blown up to the extreme. Mercury is the ruler of our words, our language and our communication. It covers all things to do with the media and everything to do with expression, learning and teaching. And it governs the signs of Gemini and Virgo. Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. He is opposite Gemini on the zodiac wheel. Whereas Gemini is the lower thinking mind, Sagittarius is the higher thinking mind. So it's almost like we've got these opposing energies at this time. So Mercury is the ruler of Gemini, and at the moment he's in Libra, but he's opposing Jupiter, who is the higher mind, who in the actual zodiac wheel is opposite Gemini. So Sagittarius, the ruler, is ruled by Jupiter, and it's opposite the Gemini energy. So it's like the two of them are kind of like the energy's going backwards and forwards between the two. And Gemini is, where, as I said, it's the lower thinking mind. Sagittarius is the higher thinking mind, and he governs such things as philosophy, law, justice, study, colleges, universities. And Jupiter is also known as the great benefic. It's like everything that he touches kind of gets expanded on, for good or for bad. It kind of has a very optimistic energy, Jupiter, but sometimes it can be over exaggerated and overblown, and this is kind of what's happening at this time with Mercury. It's all being overblown because Mercury's energy is also being magnified by the fact that he's stationed, and now he's also got this stationed opposite Jupiter. So it's all really kind of being thrown out there, shall we say, out onto the world stage at this time. But Jupiter also brings expansion by pushing through limited beliefs and boundaries to find the truth, which brings us freedom through the door to greater knowledge as well. So that is the positive side of Jupiter as well. As much as he can overblow things and over exaggerate. But there could be a lot of that going on at this time as well. So we need to be really careful what we listen to, how much we take on board, what is true, what isn't true. There's a lot of disinformation out there. There's a lot of covering up of things. There's a lot of fraud. There's a lot of fake news out there. So we need to be very aware at this time. So Mercury in Libra is in the sign that also has connections with justice, the law, fairness, equality, which particularly dislikes the disparity of all those things. Libra works hard to bring back the balance and harmony in all partnerships to a place of peace and serenity. Right now, Mercury is voicing the massive disparity we are experiencing in the world and opposing Jupiter, which is like having a huge megaphone to do this with. All the scrutinising and over-analysing of the last fortnight's new moon in Virgo is going to be broadcasted very eloquently and very clearly, as Mercury is still trine Mars at 11 degrees 23 in the home of Mercury, Gemini. We already have a lot of focus and a lot of our attention is on this Mercury Gemini energy, but added to this is a T-square with the Sun and the Moon, with Mars being the focal outlet of this attention. So again, a lot of conversation, triggered conversations, warlike words, blowing hot and cold, jumping to conclusions, leaping ahead, not being able to stay focused on things we should be, or being too myopic on something so that we lose touch with the reality around us. Salacia at almost 8 degrees is still in a waning sextile with Mars, so we could also have found ourselves saying or behaving in a manner we didn't intend to do, and thereby exposing a side of ourselves that we would normally be able to keep under wraps, like under the surface. But things are coming up at this time. This is a time of things arising to the surface. A side of our personality may suddenly arise or have already arisen to the surface, which could cause alarm or shock to those around us. With Makemake also connected in a waning trine with Mars, and at the same time opposing with Salacia, almost exact, this could also see some kind of higher karmic justice taking place, because Makemake is the law and order planet. It's the higher vibrational law and order, cosmic law and order, universal law and order. You don't get any more kind of beyond that energy, if you like, than divine cosmic law and order, as opposed to man-made laws or rules and regulations, which are not the same thing. So that's the higher kind of karmic justice as well, because Makemake is in Libra, and Mercury is conjunct this energy, and Makemake of course is also opposing Jupiter energy and the Salacia energy, which is exposing things, bringing things up for this Jupiter energy to also bring to the forefront. And so it does feel as though there's kind of justice taking place within the war of words as well, which is what I see is happening at this time. Is there's a lot of war of words. It's all, and there's a lot of legality at this time as well, particularly in the US and what's going on out there at this time. A lot of it is involved with legality and things ending up in the courts more and more and more at this time. And that's going to remain, that's going to stay that way for quite some time yet as well. So this is where we are right now in a war of words with the rebellious Mars, who is out of bounds, meaning that he's gone beyond his normal 23 degrees north or south of the ecliptic. So his normal kind of like where he would normally stay within that boundary, he's gone beyond it, and that tends to make any planet that does that more rebellious, and Mars is already quite a rebellious energy anyway, so he's even more kind of out there, kind of like up yours type of energy at this time. So he's not coming back until October as well, so we've still got a wee bit more time of this Mars energy. Kind of, yeah, it just feels like words. Words are just going to be used as weapons, is how it feels. So we're seeing the weaponization of words. I didn't realise that I'd just written that. We are seeing the weaponization of words used in a way that has never been experienced by those of us alive today, all being amplified by the T-square with the sun and the moon. Because Mars in this T-square, we've got the sun, we've got the moon, and then we've got Mars kind of in the middle, and all the energy from the sun and the moon is being focused down that lens of Mars at this time. Mars in Gemini, like I said, it's all about the words. So adding to this is the fact that Mercury and Jupiter will continue to oppose each other in retrograde over the coming weeks, as Mercury retrogrades back into Virgo and Jupiter moves back towards Pisces, finally parting company on the 16th of October, just as Mercury almost reaches the point where he is coming out of his shadow, the place he started his retrograde in Libra. And that was only a couple of days ago now, so that would be about the 8 degrees point when he gets back to that same point on the 16th. I think it's around about the 18th of October that actually happens. So 4 weeks prior, so that is 4 weeks prior. So when he comes out of his shadow, it will have been 4 weeks prior. But during all of this, Mercury and Jupiter will have been connected for 6 weeks, which is one of those incredibly rare occurrences, as these two planets, who usually only oppose each other for 2 to 4 days at the most. So 6 weeks of Mercury and Jupiter is going to be an excess of words, an absolute excess of words, and Mercury of course is retrograde through most of that as well. So words, language, communication, media, TV, social media sites, all that kind of thing, very much highlighted. I also think that we're going to hear a lot to do with social media sites and legal court battles as well. That's all going to come back in as well. Lots of things going to be revealed, lots of things going to come out at this time. So one of the reasons for this as well is that both of these energies are heading towards the axis mundi of the cardinal initiating energies. So Aries, Cancer, Libra and Capricorn are all going to be activated around this time as well. So any of you Aries, Libra, Cancer, Capricorn energies or zodiac signs out there, if you've got that in your sun or moon energy, it's going to be feeling quite extreme, and it's going to be activated. Their activity is not Okay, so not only is Mercury moving across the 0°00 point of the world stage, at the time that he does that, he's also going to be kazemiing across the Sun, who's going in the opposite direction. And that's quite a rare occurrence as well. We've had lots of these rare occurrences for it to be happening on the 0 point of Libra. It's at 0 14 degrees. So if you've got any planets around that point as well, it's really going to emphasize your conversations, your language skills, all that kind of thing is really going to be brought to the forefront. But on the world stage, we're really going to see it play out in a sense of, again, legalities, words being used against people, against each other, like gossip, and just a lot of deception around words at this time. Words kind of wanting to be, how can you put it, used. It just feels like weapons being triggered, easily triggered by something that doesn't sit right, words disappearing, words being taken out of the language, other words being put into the language that doesn't make any sense. That kind of thing is what we're going to be seeing around this time. And so this is going to take place on the 23rd of September, which in itself is quite a huge day. This is 2 days before the new moon in Libra in itself, but also this event will cause an unleashing and flurry of excited voices, all claiming to have the solutions for the world's problems at this time, as the Sun is also going to be opposing Jupiter, which is expansion, a lot of hot air, as well as Neptune, deception, confusion, as Mercury disappears once more from our sight in the glare of the Sun. And that's going to happen from the 18th onwards. So from the 18th of this month of September, Mercury is going to disappear between the Earth and the Sun. He's not behind the Sun, he's going to be in front of the Sun, but because he's in front of the Sun, we can't see him. So he's going to disappear from our view, which is going to make things even more confusing for us. Our brains are going to go into a strange kind of weird, like when Mercury goes retrograde, we get tongue-tied, we trip over our words, like communication goes haywire. But all of this is being really exaggerated. I cannot stress how much it is being exaggerated at this time. But another very interesting thing about this as well is that when I saw this event, this Cazimi over the Sun on the 23rd, and the fact that it is also opposed, the Sun is also opposing Jupiter, I just felt, this is like a flashpoint. It feels like a flashpoint energy, like something could just get, I don't quite know how to put it, like a flash of something, like maybe inspiration or a flash of awareness, but also recently I've found out that scientists are actually saying that this is also a possible day for a Carrington event. And if you don't know what a Carrington event is, it happened back in 1850s, something like that, in the 1800s. There was a massive CME that was let off by the Sun, and it hit the telegram poles, because basically that was the form of communication that was there at the time, telegram wire, and they all got fried, completely got fried. And they know that if there was another event like this Carrington event, then it would fry all of the grids. There would be nothing. it would just, and there's nothing, absolutely nothing that we can do about it to stop it. So all of this kind of crying about climate crisis and all these like problems with the oil and the kind of like carbon and all of that, it's just words, basically. It's just words, because the much bigger and scarier things that they don't want to talk about is the fact that the sun could wipe it all out, could just wipe out all our electric grids and literally send us back to the Stone Age. And this particular date, the 23rd of September, could be a date when something happens, something quite big, quite humongous takes place. I'm not saying it will, but I'm just saying that it could possibly. If it's going to happen, it will happen around that time, around that kind of that date. So Mercury, as he goes over the sun, as he kazimis over the sun, he's also entering his synodic cycle as well. So that means it's going to last for another 4 months. And it begins by being cleansed and purified by the sun, which is what happens because Mercury is so close to the sun. He's either in front of the sun or he's behind the sun. And when he retrogrades, that's when the sun kind of moves over and goes in front of him, and then Mercury comes back and eventually they catch up and they do it again. So so when he's in direct motion, Mercury moves behind the sun, but when he's retrograde, he moves in front of the sun. So when he re-emerges from this particular kazemi of the sun, which basically means heart of the sun is what kazemi means, after this rebirth, he's going to become a morning star again. At the moment he's an evening star, but he will become a morning star, and this on the 28th of September we will begin to see him in the morning before the sun rises. So for those 10 days, Mercury retrograde is going to be in the underworld working with our shadows, which is why we are going to see a lot of negative mindsets, spewing a lot of negative talk through all different kinds of media about how they all know what is best or what we should all be doing. And also, as I was saying, like, you know, telling us that they have the solution, they have the answer to all our problems. All we've got to do is just let them get on with it, which is not what I'm advocating at all. So this 0 degree point of Libra is going to be an important point to watch. So check out which house related to which sign that placement falls in for you, as this is where it will show itself around these particular energies. So again, this could have something to do with karmic events, karmic events being something that, you know, the energy of it has already been set in motion previously, and it's like something that cannot be stopped once it's started. It's a bit like that train, as it picks up steam, it can't be stopped kind of thing. So the energy is moving towards a definite kind of outcome. What that outcome may be will depend again on your house placement and the sign that it's in. So again, check your own sign for that. So, or your own chart, sorry. So Uranus at 18 degrees 48 minutes of Taurus remains prominently in the picture, as he's still conjunct the North Node, 16 degrees and 9 minutes, which is trine the Sun in Virgo and sextile the Moon in Pisces, as is Uranus. And this is an energy of new and innovative ideas, some of which may come in through the dream state, as the Moon conjunct Neptune in Pisces can open us up to receiving messages through our dreams. Some of these ideas or visions may seem way out there, which both Uranian and Neptunian energies often appear to be, but they could also be of a presentient nature with practical implications for the long-term future. So basically, don't dismiss these ideas if they come into your head, these kind of weird visions or ideas, if they seem too like out there, basically. Don't dismiss it as just like that's not a possibility. Write it down, keep a note of it, keep a note of your dreams at this time as well, because they may well be trying to tell you something at this time. And also, as I was saying, this could also be something that is going to be applicable further down the line in the future, but something that may not be right for right now, but it's coming in now. So it can be to do with our health. It could be linked to our food, as both Taurus and Virgo are strongly connected to the food supply. Traditionally, when the seeds are planted and then the harvest gathered is between April and September. So we're talking Taurus and Virgo energies there. And so joining this combination of energies at 19 degrees and 4 minutes of Pisces is another very slow moving Kuiper belt object called, and I have spoken about this energy before, and it's called Taharana Hayawako. And he was of Iroquois mythology, particularly the Mohawk tribe, and is in the opposite side of the sky, conjunct the sun. So he's next to the moon and Neptune, but opposite him in the other part of the sky, which is the Virgo energy, again conjunct the sun, is yet another KBO or Kuiper belt object called Orcus. And Orcus is at 13 degrees 50 minutes or 14 degrees of Virgo. And this mythology is linked with Roman Etruscan period, but it may also have originated with the Celts, because the Romans had quite a thing about stealing other people's gods and kind of incorporating it into their own belief system and religions, and changing all the gods to kind of become one god, so that they could just carry on ruling basically without too many problems. So, well, not just one god, but like incorporating them into their own god system. So anyway, the Iroquois myth of Teharana Hayawako was the son or the grandson of their great spirit creation god. In some versions he's the son, in others he's the grandson. He's the son of the daughter of the great spirit creation god, who decided to become a farmer. And he was credited with the creation of maize, also known as corn, along with other seeds, which is how the Iroquois Native Americans see him. They see him as the god of seeds, again, fertility, creation, to do with food, again. And of course, we are having this kind of problems around food at this time. There is a certain agenda out there to try and change all of our food eating habits, shall we say, and there's a lot of food supply issues going on at this time as well. Places like markets and things, supermarkets, are not stocking up as much as they have been able to, and a lot of that is also down to prices rising in the oil industry, and so it's all having a knock-on effect at this time. And oil is particularly linked to Pisces as well, so that's another reason why oil is particularly being highlighted at this time with Neptune in Pisces. So that was the kind of the god of seeds and culture and agriculture as well. And then there's Orcus, and Orcus was a kind of god of the underworld. But the interesting thing about Orcus was he was known as being the punisher of broken oaths. Oaths were sworn upon his name, and anyone who broke them or committed perjury had him to answer to. So this energy is being highlighted at this time as well, and I find it really, really interesting, considering everything that is going on again in the States, but again what's just happened here in the UK on the day of the full moon, with Charles making his proclamation, which happened actually at the moment that the full moon happened. He actually said, like, that proclamation was said at that time. So that is coincidence or just how the universe works, who knows. But very, very interesting that it's to do with oaths, because it is like saying, you know, I take responsibility in many ways, and that's really what an oath was. When you swear an allegiance to something, when you make an oath, you swear an allegiance. So this is talking about those people who break their oaths because for whatever reason they do, but they do. This energy of Orcus, who was this big, ugly giant of a beast, who would just kind of carry that person away into the underworld. He would then hold them there, hold them prisoner in the underworld until they had purified their soul. So that could be many lifetimes that this person would be kept in this kind of prison state in the underworld until their soul was pure enough to be released back into the kind of rebirth, recycling energy, if you like. Because being a god of the underworld, he was also linked with Pluto. For me, Pluto is very much the recycler of souls as well, as I think I might have mentioned earlier, but that's how I see Pluto, recycler of souls. And again, it's kind of joining those energies up together there. So interesting. So both Terahana Hayawako in Pisces and Orcus in Virgo are connecting with Uranus and the North Node, just to add a little bit more emphasis to all that energy at this time. Just like the Sun and Moon, and they are connecting with an easy flowing trine and a supportive sextile. So they're both very positive energies, not difficult, hard energies, but that doesn't mean that they're not important energies. It just means that it's much more of a easy energy to work with and to deal with. So they are also both making the same 120 degrees and 60 degree angles with Black Moon Lilith at 16 degrees 33 Cancer, only this time they are reversed. So this time, instead of the Sun and Orcus trining, they are sextiling, and the Moon is trining. As is Neptune, and Neptune isn't trining, but Orcus is. And Black Moon Lilith also sextiles Uranus and the North Node as well, so a lot of concentrated energy there too. Black Moon Lilith, of course, is that energy of non-compromising, won't compromise on beliefs or on integrity. Very much the energy of determination of who she is. And she's in Cancer at this time, in the 4th house of the mother, the home, and our deep emotional roots. And interestingly, again, going back to the US natal chart, we find the Sun in the sign of Cancer. The divine masculine is in the sign of the divine feminine. and that's at 13 degrees 19 minutes of Cancer. So Black Moon Lilith has been transiting this area and conjunct the US Sun since the 8th of July, while the Sun was also highlighting this area at the same time as well, while conjuncting the natal Sun of the US chart. So things have really kind of picked up, shall we say, over that particular period of time, and had just entered the 19 degrees of Pisces. And of course we just had the raid of the past president's home happen there as well in August, sorry, or the 8th of August. So that has also kind of brought that in, that Cancer, that kind of violating your safety, your sanctuary, your home. That energy is very much like Black Moon Lilith energy, and to a lot of people, like, that home is very much a kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It's a bit like, I suppose, on some level, it's a bit like Buckingham Palace is to a lot of people here. It's not our home, but to all those people who love the ex-president or the past president, it feels like it belongs to them as well, which is a very Cancerian kind of energy with the Sun in Cancer. So, of course, we also had Orcus and Terahanahuaco was also involved with that energy as well, but again particularly Orcus, because a lot of breaking of oaths going on there, shall we say. And so, I mean, both those energies of Terahanahuaco and Orcus are very slow-moving energies. So Orcus had just entered the 19 degrees of Pisces that he's still at now. So that was back in July, and he's still only at 19 degrees. So this energy has been very focused on the US natal chart and will continue to be so. And because we are dealing with such slow-moving objects, the effects are slower to see, but they are also longer lasting. And connected to Uranus, these are going to be out of the blue, unexpectedly shocking, awakening and far-reaching, especially when it comes to changes in what we need to reevaluate around our personal value systems and our ideas on what brings us personal safety and security, which is a real big issue for Cancerian energy in itself anyway. So another big energy that is once again playing out that we need to continue to be aware of is the tense and challenging square between the freedom fighter Uranus, who is the ruler of Aquarius. This is the sign that represents the collective, the people, humanitarian ideas that work the best for everyone, which is where we still find the controlling, restricting, harsh taskmaster Saturn. As both Saturn and Uranus are retrograde, they are moving closer together, and the square between them is getting ever tighter, thus causing what we are seeing and experiencing in a very real way playing out here in the 3D realm of freedom versus tyranny, and the Great Awakening versus, the Great Reset. If we look towards the sign ruled by Saturn, Capricorn, we find Pluto has reached the last degree as far back as he is going in his retrograde. So he's got to 26 degrees and he's only got 12 minutes left to cover before he gets to the point where he's going to station. And that's going to happen on the 8th of October. So not long now before Pluto stations. And he's going to be the first of the 5 major outer planets to do so. So he's still digging up the foundations of the structures that Saturn has been laying for many centuries now. The towers not only being in the physical domain, but also in the metaphysical, as in the structures we build around us, with which we allow others to control us by. And one of the main ones we do this with are words. So words are powerful emotional resonators. They are spells we weave around ourselves and others, Neptune is the master of spell weaving, and Pisces, the age we are in, is the epitome of being under spells and illusions. Neptune is sextile Pluto, and over the coming hours after this full moon, the moon will also become sextile to Pluto while the sun begins to shine in a trine on him. As painful as it may be, as we are dealing with Pluto, the planet of destructive creation, the time is here for the scales to be removed from our eyes, for the unseen to become seen, for the revelations of hidden truths to be revealed. Uranus square Saturn is a massive part of this fight for humanity's sovereignty versus our technological slavery. In its highest capacity, Saturn can give us a steely determination. And in Aquarius, a fixed air sign focused on the future with an ongoing T-square with the karmic north and south nodes of the moon at 16 degrees of fixed Earth Taurus and fixed water Scorpio, we are being asked to choose where do we want to put our attention and energy, which do we want to grow and build our future in. We have a choice between the old set in stone unyielding punishment system of the past or the new, still coming into form, still in flux, still to be created, open awareness of the future. So the dance between Venus at 6 degrees 29 minutes Virgo and Mars at 11 degrees 23 is once more being activated, which began when they came together for the first time in their new cycle back in mid-February, where they stayed conjunct for around 4 weeks. Again, another rare occurrence. They don't usually stay together for that long, but Venus was retrograde. Now, 7 months later, the two of them are square with each other and will be exact on the 16th, which is 6 days after this full moon, just as the moon conjuncts with Mars. So this is not an easy energy to deal with. Relationships in particular can bring out all the flaws that Virgo in Venus is just ready to nitpick, which can then just end up escalating into furious, blazing rows with angry words being said before the brain has time to connect. So this could be a lot of drama involved here as well. Sex may also end up being used as a weapon, either being withheld or to try and mend bridges where words, conversations and communication about the feelings would probably be more desirable. This is an energy of strong, passionate and lustful emotions, which could easily become angry, hostile, rejection or aggression. If this is the case, time out in separate spaces is probably the best way to deal with it. As Mercury retrograde in Libra, the 7th house of relationships is also trine the moon, which is conjunct Mars and square Venus, giving extra emphasis to our feelings, but not necessarily allowing us to express them in a healthy and constructive way. So that's where I'm going to finish that part of the actual intuitive reading, and then the Sabian symbol for the 17 degrees of Pisces is in a huge tent, a famous revivalist conducts his meeting with a spectacular performance. So this shows hearing or delivering important messages, decrees or rules for living, making sense of spiritual instruction, seeing an authority worth listening to and who's not. Seeing who's an authority worth listening to and who's not. Seeing through false intentions or messages could be one of your objectives now. You may need to organise and stage a display to promote, teach or disseminate, bringing a feeling of community in a common goal. With the power to influence or sway groups of people, there needs to be a feeling of moderation and the ability to listen as well as speak. This can, however, picture situations of hysteria or overstating one's case. Is the audience listening? Is the cause just? energy and inspiration, having a lot to say, evangelism, whipped up emotions, media circus, instructional or dogmatic, ecstasy, loud voices, mind control, performing and showmanship. And they are what I would call the more positive aspects, because here we've also got greedy spiritualism, big egos, charlatans, overblown feelings of abilities, manipulation or exploitation, controlling others, bigotry, getting worked up, and lies. And that all kind of seems to fit in with the, particularly the Venus Mars energy somehow. But again, it does seem to be about messages and words, listening, also being very much a part of conversation. Most people think that conversation is just about talking, but it isn't. It is also about listening. And that could also be something to do with the Venus and Mars energy square there as well. So what have we got? We've got two cards here. One. Okay, so we've got self-love, which is kind of Piscean energy, self-worth, compassion. So it says, show me how to love myself. Show me how to take care of the inner child. Show me how to be kind within. When you step into self-forgiveness, so much can change on the outside. That kind of really seems to fit in with the reading that I did earlier today. As I was saying, I got the Jesus card come out from one of my decks of cards, and Jesus energy is all about forgiveness as well. So seems to be a bit of a theme at this time. Forgiveness again is a compassionate, surrendering energy of Pisces. And then we have perfectionism, which again is that kind of Virgo energy. Very Virgoan, perfection. And it says, permission to make mistakes is so freeing. It's the root of creativity and change. Allow me, divine, to make as many mistakes as I need. Free me from the prison of perfectionism. Very interesting. So it's talking about not having to be perfect all the time, not having to impress others all the time, is also what I'm getting from that. That it's okay to make mistakes, because by making mistakes we can improve, which is again another Virgo energy, improvement. So those are the messages for this full moon in Pisces. I hope that you've enjoyed this reading, got something from this reading. If you have, please could you thumbs it up for me, because it makes a big difference to me and my channel. And also the platform that I'm on, it lets the platform know that people are interacting and taking notice of what I have to say personally. Also, if you haven't subscribed already, could you please do that as well, and tap that bell to get the videos as and when I put them out. Thank you very much to those of you who both subscribe or have subscribed, and to those of you who also like my videos. And also those of you who leave comments. Like I said, I don't always get the notifications for those comments, so I only find them when I go back and kind of check on my videos, and I'll see that there has been somebody said something, so I will respond once I've found the messages, but I'm not getting the notifications. So I'm not being rude, I'm not ignoring you. If you do leave me a comment, I will try to get back to answering that comment. And like I said, if you want to kind of ask me any questions about anything that I've said today that you think might be relevant for you personally, if I'm able to give you an answer, then I will. If not, then I will let you know that as well, or I will give you some information to help you maybe find an answer elsewhere. But also playlists. I do have a playlist for all of my videos that I've done so far, all the sun signs as well. At the moment I'm just doing the full and the new moon energies, but there is a playlist for all the sun signs. No times or dates on my readings, just titles, because basically it can happen, like situations happen at any time. So if you read something and it resonates with you and you think, oh yes, that makes sense to me, if you watch it and it feels like you're reading, then take it as you're reading at that time, because that's what it's there for. So with all that being said, thank you again for being here and for listening to me and for being a part of my journey on this channel, Inspiring Life Changes. And if you feel like sharing this information or sharing any of my other videos, please also do that as well, because it will also help to let the channel, or the platform, know that there is interest in my channel, and it will help to grow my channel as well, which is something I'm really trying to do at this time. Thank you very much again. Take really good care of yourselves. I hope you have a wonderful full moon in Pisces. I also hope that you don't get into that Venus-Mars energy, which can be, by the sounds of things, quite dramatic at this coming from the 16th especially of September. So just watch out for that energy. Just be aware that that energy is there. And like I said, if it gets to that point where it's too much, just kind of give yourself some space. So until next time, and hopefully I will see you all again soon. Take care.